Taipan is a strategy adventure game set during the China trade era in the 1800s. In it, you battle pirates while sailing between 7 ports across the China Seas, trading general cargo, arms, silk, and opium, all with the goal of becoming a millionaire. Now don't confuse this with the 1986 release from Ocean Software. The version I'm talking about was developed earlier, in 1982 for the Apple II computer. It's widely regarded as a classic that many Apple II users fondly remember. There's even a story online about the game's creator, Art Canfill, meeting Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, who reportedly said it was his favorite game. Retro Gamer magazine once ranked Taipan number 20 in its list of the top 20 Apple II games you must play. Here's the title screen. Over the years, it's inspired several unofficial ports to other systems, including a beta version for the Commodore 64. I even played it on my Palm Pilot back in the day, and yes, you can still play it on modern smartphones. In this video, I'll share more about the Apple II version of Taipan, and then talk about a programming book that Art Canfill released 4 years later, a book that teaches you how to create your own Taipan-style game in BASIC. I think you'll find it pretty interesting. Believe it or not, the origins of Art Canfill's Taipan go back to the TRS-80 computer. On the right, you can see a full-page ad for the game from a 1979 issue of Softalk magazine. These early versions were distributed on cassette tape. This is just a copy. Here's what a battle scene looks like on the TRS-80. As you can see, it's not nearly as polished as the Apple II port. It's mostly text-based graphics with no sound. I found these TRS-80 battles to be pretty unforgiving. You don't run into pirates as often, but when you do, they hit hard and fast. Let's skip to the main screen where you can buy and sell goods. I'll go deeper into the mechanics when we return to the Apple II version, but take a look at the ports listed at the bottom. These are the same locations featured in the Apple II release. I got curious and created a map to see where they actually are. Your home base is Hong Kong, right in the center. You can sail to various ports to buy and sell goods. Prices vary by location. Traveling between ports takes just a few seconds in real time, but in-game it simulates a month or more passing. Now let's jump ahead to the Apple II version. This is an issue of Softalk magazine from August 1982, featuring a half-page ad for Taipan. It reads, "Survive the Perils of the China Seas, an exciting new strategy adventure game based on the China trade of the 1800s. The game was distributed by a company called Avalanche Productions in Palo Alto, California. To my knowledge, this was the only computer game they released. They mainly focused on marketing research. Here's a photo of the floppy disk the game came on. Notice how the Taipan font matches the ad we just saw. It runs from DOS 3.2, which means it's on a 13-sector disk. I found this photo online years ago. I don't actually own the disk, and I've never seen one in person. In fact, I haven't come across any evidence of a box or a manual. I'm guessing it was sold in a plastic baggie or a cardboard envelope. Actually, I would love if I could somehow time travel back to 1982 and make my way back to Palo Alto, California to see if I could pick up a physical copy of this game. It would be like finding a lost treasure. But enough dreaming, let's get back to the game. I did find a version of the game that includes built-in instructions. Here's the color splash screen, using that same Taipan font. If you had a cracked version, you probably never saw this screen or the option to view instructions. I know I didn't. Switching over to monochrome for now, if I break into the instruction program and list the start, you can see that the actual programming for this Apple II port was done by Ronald J. Berg for a company called Mega Microcomputers. Just a neat side note. Now I'm not going to read every instruction page word for word, but I will share some highlights. I've apparently been mispronouncing Taipan. It should be Daibon, but I'm going to stick with my version for now. You may start with debt, and you get a ship that holds 50 units. Opium is the most valuable cargo, but you have to watch out for dangerous pirates. You can trade up to a bigger ship and buy more guns, but each gun adds 10 units of weight. Bigger ships attract greater numbers of pirates. Your Hong Kong headquarters includes a bank, warehouse, and moneylender. You can store goods in your warehouse, but don't forget to pay off your debt. There are risks such as storms, robbers, and fines from authorities. When trading, you can enter a number or type the letter A to buy or sell all that is possible. Your goal is to become a millionaire and retire, though retirement is optional. The game uses one-letter inputs to speed up gameplay, such as Y for yes, N for no, etc. In battle, you can run, fight, or throw cargo overboard to improve escape chances. You can choose what to throw overboard or type an asterisk to throw everything. And finally,
like the man said, may you live in interesting times.
Then the program loads the title screen. This part of the program was written in assembly language. There's that Mega Microcomputers. You don't see Ronald Berg's name here, but if I look at the code with the sector editor, you can see it hidden in there. When starting the game, you name your trading firm and choose between starting with cash and debt or 5 guns and no debt. I always go for the guns. That way I can fight pirates right away and make some quick money. At the top you've got your warehouse for storing extra goods. Below that is your ship, which at this point can carry 10 items. Right now it's empty, but I've got 5 guns and no cash. Opium looks cheap, but I can't afford anything, so it's time to hit the sea and pick a fight. In Shanghai, I get a message ordering me back to Hong Kong to basically pay a bribe, and if I don't pay it, I risk an attack from Li Yuan's pirates. Before I can even return, his men find me, and I fight back. After sinking their ships, I earn over 8,000 in loot, but my ship is down to 62% health. Later in Nagasaki, I'm offered an additional gun, but I turn it down. It would take up all my ship's space, leaving no room for cargo. I'll need a bigger ship eventually. I buy 10 units of arms, and try to return to Hong Kong to pay off Li Yuan. But first I get attacked again. These smaller groups of enemies are independent pirates. I collected more loot. Now I can make the so-called donation to keep Li Yuan off my back for a while. Now notice my ship is at 58%. In Hong Kong I can get repairs from a guy named McHenry. Look what he says. I see you have a wee bit damage to your ship. Whenever I read that, I hear it in Scotty's voice from the original Star Trek.
Aye, Captain. We'll squeeze a wee bit more speed out of it.
So McHenry can fix my ship for a fee, and I can get partial repairs if I pay less. Occasionally you'll get the chance to upgrade to a bigger ship, which helps with more storage and room for additional guns. Sometimes when independent pirates attack, they get driven off by Li Yuan's pirates, and if you've been keeping up with the bribes, they will let you go. If you don't have enough money to pay a bribe, the moneylender will cover the difference, but then you're in debt and interest starts piling up. Later in the game, opium prices spike. I've got 1 unit on my ship and 1 in storage. Not much, but I sell them so I can quickly clear my debt. There's also a well-documented bug. If you overpay the moneylender, you can actually earn negative interest and withdraw it later. On the flip side, if you let your debt spiral, you'll get dragged to the moneylender's mansion and threatened. Once you've built up a fortune, consider using the bank in Hong Kong to store your cash and earn interest. At one point, I've got a good amount of cash and see opium is cheap, so I fill up my ship and put some extra in the warehouse. Later in Shanghai, opium prices are sky high. I sell, and now I'm a millionaire. The option to retire appears. But if I retire now, my ranking won't be very high. Let's push on a bit more. Here are 3 examples of bad joss that can happen to you. First, I've got 80 units of opium on my ship. Bad joss. The local authorities have seized your opium cargo and fined you. Here's another bad break. Look at my warehouse inventory right now. 10, 140, and 8,000. Bad Joss. Messenger reports large theft from warehouse. Now it's down to 3, 42, and 1510. Finally, here's another misfortune. Bad Joss. You've been beaten up and robbed. However, I eventually come out ahead, and I am worth over 64 million. I decide to retire. I get the message, you're a millionaire. Then the game displays your ranking screen showing net cash, ship size, and the timeline you traded. My final score is 2891, which gives me the rank of Taipan. If I had retired earlier, I probably would have scored Galley Hand. And if you hit 1 billion or more, you might reach the rank of Matsu. This is a fun game for sure. Now let's switch gears and talk about the programming book from 1986. This was co-authored by Art Canfill, among others. Why did Art make a book after already creating an Apple II program 4 years earlier? I'm not entirely sure, but according to one source, Art never made any money from that earlier release. Still, when you flip through the book, it's clear he remained passionate about the game's subject matter and wanted to share that passion with a wider audience. In the introduction, he outlines 3 goals for the book. First, principles of game design. Second, understanding the geography and history as context. And third, how to program the game in BASIC. Chapter 1 dives into the history of East Asia. He references the novel Taipan by James Clavell, written in 1966. This guy also wrote the popular novel Shogun. His novel Taipan takes place in the year 1841, which lines up with the game's time period. Chapter 2 discusses how to incorporate historical elements into a game, and how to make it feel realistic, challenging, and enjoyable for the player. Chapter 3 kicks off the programming. It explains the trade items, and it's slightly expanded from the earlier version. Besides the usual opium, silk, and arms, they've added tea and split spices into pepper and rice. Chapter 4 focuses on geography and ports. Here we see additional ports not featured in the original game, like Foochow, Calcutta, and Liverpool. From there, each chapter builds on the basic program bit by bit, blending game mechanics with historical insights and code explanations. Chapter 10 introduces a new feature called Records. This allows you to view data the game collects on item prices across the ports. Here's what the port mode looks like in Singapore. It tracks the high and low prices of each item based on your visits there. And here's the item mode, showing the price history of tea across all visited ports. A question mark means you haven't visited that port yet. Later in Chapter 16, the book covers pirate battles. You're given the option to parley if things aren't going well, but it only works 20% of the time. If you do give up, they will demand all your cash. On the other hand, if you're winning, the pirates may offer to surrender. Accepting their surrender can result in capturing a larger ship, which is a nice reward. Overall, there are 19 chapters in the book, plus a bibliography, appendix, and index, and even an order form in the back for a floppy disk containing the completed game. I don't have the original disk, but I found the program on archive.org. It was typed in by a guy named Dean Oisboyd. I think he also goes by Ozzy. So huge thanks to Ozzy for putting this together. He notes that there may be a few bugs, and I did find some, including mislabeled strings, and a broken randomizer subroutine. This last issue wasn't Ozzy's fault, that's just how it was printed in the book. I fixed what I could, and now it seems to run just fine. This version of Taipan goes back to basics. No high-res graphics, just good old text. You automatically start with 400 gold, 1,000 debt, a ship with 1 gun, and a hold for 50 units. Your storage is called the Go Down, which is a traditional term for warehouse. There is no bank in this version. You can travel to 9 different ports in addition to your home base of Hong Kong. If a group of ships approaches, it's represented by 1 large ship. If you've been keeping up with your donations to Li Yuan, they just greet you and pass you by peacefully. When you arrive at a port, the game tells you how many days the voyage took. Sometimes you'll be offered a new ship with greater capacity and more guns, but you have to pay for it. You can't just buy extra guns separately. Your only way to upgrade is through a better ship. Also, here is what the records option looks like on the computer. You can do it by port or item. Here are the high and low prices in Hong Kong, and here are the opium prices from all the ports I visited. If you fight pirates, once again, you only see one ship at a time. When you sink a ship, you see it go down, and then the next ship sails over to take its place. In this version of the game, battles are slow, tedious, and very challenging. If you do survive the battle, your ship is automatically repaired to 100%. There is no McHenry to pay in this game for ship repairs. You can retire at any time during the game, but I've got 9 million at this point, so I'm going to press the letter R to see what happens. It gave me a score of 17,777, but no ranking, just the number. So what's my verdict? I prefer the 1982 Apple II version distributed by Avalanche. I'm more of an action guy, and that version seems to strike a better balance between combat and trading. The book version plays slower and honestly doesn't deliver quite as much excitement. That said, I think Taipan is long overdue for a modern remake. Here's a mock-up of a game box that I threw together. Can you imagine sailing across the China Seas in a fully immersive game? Trading, battling pirates in real time, maybe even going on side quests like tracking down Li Yuan's henchmen? I'd buy that in a heartbeat. But let's return to the retro Apple II scene. Believe it or not, some fan-made games that share some similarities with Taipan are in the works. One of them is Trader Invader by Michael Packard. Development started in 2018, but it's currently paused for now. It's set in outer space, and it includes mini-games like blackjack and slots. Time will tell if Michael is able to finish it. Another game currently in development is Skull Island by Mark Gullenbeck and Dan Henderson. These guys make quality Apple II programs, and while I don't know much about the gameplay yet, I've seen demo screens with pirate ships and trading, and that got my attention. If I find any updates or links, I'll include them in the description below. Finally, I want to close out this video on a personal note. Here's an old photo of 3 of my friends from 1990, back when we were home from college for winter break. One of them said, "Hey, remember that pirate game we used to play where you can become a millionaire?" And I said, "Taipan?" They said, "Yeah, let's play it." So here they are on my Apple II GS playing Taipan, because back in my college days we really knew how to party. Here's another photo. I'm in the back in the middle. We made some great memories that day. And these guys weren't even Apple II guys. They either had a C64 or Atari. But somehow we all bonded over Taipan. If you have any memories of playing Taipan, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.